All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. How's everybody doing out there on this 4th of July? If you hear fireworks in the background, it's because, well, I just said it's 4th of July. Tonight we're going to be talking about Let Him Go, the movie from last year starring Diane Lane and Kevin Costner and Jeffrey Donovan. A movie about a husband and wife who go seeking their grandson and their ex-daughter-in-law and trying to save them from a abusive relationship. And the trailer for this really sells it as like this really hardcore revenge thriller when it's so much more than that. So before we get into it, just to let you guys know, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button, all that stuff. For returning subscribers, welcome back. Hope you like the review. If not, we just wipe your memory anyway. So, anyway, Let Him Go is a very, very well-made movie, very well-acted movie. And one of the great things about it, again, is I like watching movies that have this classic kind of feel that take me back to a time when they used to make more movies like this. I've watched No Sudden Move in the last couple of days, and I'm watching this, and it really gets me hungry for more classic style movies. This, in tone, reminds me a lot of Unforgiven. Now, in no way, shape, or form is this Unforgiven. I'm talking tone. The kind of movie where it's got a very dark underbelly and you can't really expect a great Hollywood ending, where everybody, gets what's coming to them and all the good guys ride off into the sunset. Unforgiven, it ended. If you don't know the ending of Unforgiven, go watch it. And then watch this and tell me that the tones aren't the same, kind of. But one of the things I really love about this movie is the relationship between Costner and Lane. We see, it felt like, because this is set in like I want to say 50s or 60s. Maybe, yeah, I would have to say somewhere around there. And maybe not. Maybe in the 70s even. They don't really say, which is another great thing. Because I look at the cars in the movie and I go, I'm not a big car guy, so I'm like kind of 50s to 70s, somewhere in there. And it's also out west. So I don't really, know what that looked like. There's no city scenes in this. There's towns. So I love their relationship and I love their chemistry in this movie. He's the ex, 30-year veteran of the police force. He's an old school kind of guy, runs his own farm. And she's the one, that takes care of everything else, and she's got a lot of passion and fire, and she's clearly somebody who has kept this guy on his toes, and they love each other. And I really liked seeing a good marriage, but a real marriage, one where you can tell that they've probably had their share of, brawls, and I mean verbal brawls, like arguments. But then in the end, they're a real partnership. And that was something I really liked. Because you need it for this story. And in this story, they have a son who has a wife and a newborn. And one day he goes off to help, they have a horse that's kind of troubled. And that horse presumably throws him and he dies. Now we cut to the wife, the now ex-daughter-in-law, getting married to another guy, and so now their grandson has a stepdad. So their relation to these two people is only through the grandson. And we find out, Diane Lane's character finds out, she sees on the street that this new guy hits the kid, hits the wife. It's probably a pattern. And she's terrified. And before she can try to talk to the ex-daughter-in-law, the new husband has moved them God knows where. They just up and run away. So right after she witnesses him beating on her, they disappear, which leads Lane's character to convince her husband that they need to track down these kids, these two adults, and try to find out, like, for their grandson's sake, make sure everything's kosher, maybe try to get her out of there because she knows that he beats her. And so this couple goes on this journey to try to track down where this guy is and his family, because they don't know anything about where he comes from and who he is. All they know is that they didn't really like him to start with, and now they really don't like him now that they know that he hits her and the kid and disappear. Now what happens after this would have to be talking about, real spoilers here for this movie. And I will be getting to it. So that'll be for people who have watched the whole thing, because I do want to talk about this. So once they kind of track down these people, you can tell right away that these people are shady people. Not just because the one guy hits his wife. And there's like this kind of weird, one of those families that is known by other people. Kind of, you don't know their power that they have around here. And again, a lot of stuff is really vague, but like vague in like this really good way where I don't need to know everything. It's kind of that kind of story where you just get it. We've seen these kind of families in old westerns, the ones that run things in a town, with an iron fist. Like, you don't want to mess with them. They'll come for you, and they seem to have the law on their side, that kind of thing. But it's also, the story is difficult because they have no claim to the grandson. All right? The mother is not related to them. Their son is dead. She's remarried. So, especially, with the mother, if they tried to take this to court, they'd have to prove that something was going on. And in abusive relationships, we know that sometimes people have a hard time, facing their accusers, turning on their abusers. A lot of times, I don't know, I shouldn't say a lot of times, but there are times when it becomes very difficult for that person to leave. And in this time period, it would probably be even harder. So how do you get these kids, how does the writer figure out how to get this done? So all I'll say for the rest of it is the rest of the movie, once they get to where they're going, does get really intense. Does get really dark. And the actress that plays the mother of this clan, Blanche Wayboy, played by Leslie Manville, is one of the creepiest, most realistic villains I've seen in a while. She's scary because she believes in what she's saying and what she's doing. And you could also, there's also this layer under the surface of this character that says she wasn't just born this evil person that she's become. She's been made into this somehow. And I'm not making any real logic leaps here. You can tell that whatever's going on in this lady's life, she has become this way for a reason. She's terrified of losing her sons. She's got a very tight grip on her relatives, her close relatives. But it makes her very, very dangerous. And she's also got some power, which has also made her very, very dangerous. And she wields it very well. But there's also a fragileness to her. And it just makes her more unpredictable and scary. And the guys around her, they're intimidating kind of guys, but really when you look at them, they're kind of her henchmen in a way. They kind of don't really think for themselves. It's really whatever mommy says goes. And so if you can handle a dark, moody movie that has some great performances and real personal stuff, what would you do if you found out that your grandson is living with people who would hurt him out of spite. You know, who would raise him to be like them. These awful people that have all been made this way. This cycle of abuse that is creating more and more awful people. What would you do to get someone you love out of that situation? I think a lot of people can answer that question. I think a lot of us know people that have been or are in this kind of situation. What do you do? Do you fight or do you let him go? And that's what this movie in the end answers. And it doesn't give you an easy out in this. It's not just, oh yeah, we go and we do it and maybe we run into a few difficulties and things like that. It becomes really, really harsh. And by the end of it, I was left floored by what I was left with. So we're going to talk spoilers now because I need to talk about it. And I'm not going to talk too long about it. So from here on out, watch this movie. It's on HBOMax. You can rent it at the Redbox or wherever. You can rent it on Prime. Very, very, very good movie. Very, very, very good. So please check it out if you like that. We're going to get into spoilers now, though. So one of the things I really liked about this was how at the beginning you could tell that Diane Lane's character and the wife of their son, she doesn't really pay much attention to her, to the wife. She even kind of steps in, oversteps when it comes to the baby. She's a new parent and she kind of feels pushed to the side by this kind of more, malevolent mother. Who Diane Lane is not a bad person, but she's more of, she wants to kind of jump in and take charge. And later when they approach her to get out, she's telling them that you only want this, because of because he's your grandson. You don't care about me. You just want what you want. Because she's been manipulated by these people that are abusing her, that are basically holding her hostage, threatening her life, threatening her child's life. But all she has are very real because she felt that when their son was alive. And it's really great in this moment for Diane Lane where she just admits, I wasn't what you should have had. I should have been there for you. I should have been the mother that you needed. I was a mother to my son. I should have been the same way to you. And I didn't. I failed. I failed you. And in that moment, they win her over. The problem is when somebody that's abusive, her plan was, I'm going to go back and I'll sneak out myself. As soon as they said that, it was probably the only part of the script I didn't like. Because they in no way, shape, or form should have ever allowed her, right, to go there and make that decision. She should have come back to the hotel with them, gotten the sheriff, and then gone out there to get the kid. And then if something had gone down, it would be in front of the law, who does seem to, even though it seems to be on their side, I think if they had gone out there with actual force a little bit, with the mother's permission, I think things would have went a different way. But they wanted it to get to that place. And that was where the script, to me, kind of forced it to happen. And I disagree with that a little bit. There could have been a different way to do this. But, of course, when she goes and she tries to do it her way and they're waiting for her, who shows up at their door? Now, the initial meeting when Costner and Lane get out to the family place and they meet Jeffrey Donovan, who's creepy as fuck, shady as fuck in this, because Costner, I love how he's so quiet in this movie, and that the gears are turning. He has seen a lot in 30 years, so when he tells his wife, we do not want to go anywhere with this man, we do not want to make deals with this man, I know this level of guy. But his wife is like, no, look, it's all fine. It's all fine. And if his character had stepped up a little and said, look, honey, I did this for 30 years. We can't go along with what they want. but he pays the price for not saying anything later. But when they initially go out there to meet them, and it's under their terms, right? Just like when they talk to her the next day at work, they try to do something, but it ends up being on these people's terms, these Wayboys' terms. They're a gang. What happens when a gang is separate? You can take, they run, they're little bullies, and you can do something about it. When they're together, they're a force to be reckoned with. So it's just Kevin Costner and Lane, right? I should probably call them by their characters' names. the Come on. Oh, great. Now the character names have gone away. Anyway, George and Margaret. We'll call them George and Margaret. When George and Margaret go out there, it's to me, and it, again, tone-wise, it's like meeting like the family from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You don't want to be in this room with these people. You can tell, you can feel the walls closing in. You can feel something horrible is about to happen at any given second when you're with these people, because they are ruled by an iron fist by the mother, and everything feels like a threat. But like, ha ha ha, laugh. So later when they meet again at the hotel and she's like, oh, you guys came back and you guys are still trying to do your thing, it gets even worse, and we see how far this woman is willing to go to keep what she wants and what she considers her family, even though their grandson is not blood related to them, to this Wayboy family. She's just bringing him in, another male for the family, another way to make this family strong and more power. It's really creepy. Which is, they really, Margaret and George really went in without any, they didn't come in with any backup. They're all on their own with these huge bully people. And in this scene, it gets, so much worse when Costner tries to defend his wife, because they're really threatening physical harm, possible rape to his wife. And I don't know if they were purposely trying to get it to this point or what, but when Costner pulls a gun and they get it away from him, they cut off his fingers from his gun hand off with a hatchet. Now, just like in Unforgiven, spoilers for Unforgiven, when Clint Eastwood gets sick in that movie and he has to go hide off. The prostitutes have to hide him to make him get better. And this, when Costner has his fingers cut off, Lane takes him to this guy named Peter that they had met earlier in the movie, who's a Native American who's like living near their property, and they kind of got a good rapport with. And so he kind of starts to heal him up there away from things, so that Lane can try to come up with a new plan to get their grandson back. But George sees how, like, throughout this movie, Margaret just won't let this go. She will not stop until she gets her grandson back, and it's going to get her killed. And he knows it, and he tries to tell her that, but in her depression of saying, I lost them both. I'm losing all of them. Like, she lost her son. She's losing her grandson. She's losing everything, she feels like. And so Costner takes it under his own hands, to go to the farm and get the grandson back for her in the middle of the night. And how badly, but, well, bad for the wee boys for the most part. But Costner gives a great performance in this movie, and this last bit of the movie that he's in is fantastic. It is very end of a good Western kind of movie, where he goes in to get things done, and things go bad for the Wayboys. I'm not going to say everything, but and it definitely goes bad for the mother, who once Diane Lane catches up with them and they get the kid out, there is a little bit of a Hollywood kind of gunfight, where the bad guys kind of get what they have coming to them. But our heroes don't walk away unscathed either, and I love that. Things don't happen clean, and especially in this, if you're trying to make it realistic, and as good of intentions as they have, there are consequences to doing things in the real world, and they pay the price to get their grandson back. And it just couldn't have been more well done, and I really wish I had seen this movie earlier. So anyway, go see it. I still tried to be vague. I gave you some bullet points and everything, but it doesn't change the intensity of the scenes that you're going to see in this movie. So anyway, that's Let 'Em Go. If you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, and the bell for all notifications. If you hated every single second of what I just said, and for some reason you still watched it this far, well, we can give you the last 22 minutes back of your life. So if you like this, please look away. If you didn't, look right here for a better memory. Here's the memory I choose to give you. Have a great night, everybody.
I'm your huckleberry. Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave.